Most people think anxiety and depression are mental illnesses, but in today's video I want to give my take on the subject and talk about how they could more likely be solved through working with the body and working with the nervous system, creating a holistic lifestyle, balancing the brain chemistry, regulating the nervous system, and really working with these mental health conditions on a very physical level. You know, it's very hard to change the mind with the mind. It's actually much easier to go to the roots, to go to the physical body, change the physical body, change the neurochemistry, change the nervous system, and then from there, the mental health improves as a result of the physical body being regulated, finding homeostasis, generally being in a state of health and vitality and balance. So the central nervous system is split up into two main pathways, and this is the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is more commonly known as the fight and flight response and the rest and digest response. So in fight or flight is characterized by heightened alertness, elevated blood pressure and heart rate, and a release of these stress hormones such as cortisol and epinephrine or adrenaline. And what this does is it essentially prepares the body to either run, fight or hide. It's supposed to be a very temporary response to an external stimulus, to danger. In evolutionary terms, we would have needed this response to run away from predators, to keep our family and our tribe safe, for the preservation of the species. So it's a very adaptive trait that we need, and we still need it today in this day and age. You know, if you're going to cross the road, you need to be alert. You need to be in that sympathetic nervous system if you're driving a car. In day-to-day life, we still need this response. The problem is, most people are almost always trapped in this sympathetic response, because you have external stressors such as work, you might be struggling with addictions, you might have relationship issues, financial issues, health issues, family issues. So there's a whole range of external stressors that can contribute to keeping us in a state of stress and anxiety and tension chronically. And this is causing all kinds of problems. So let's bring it back to anxiety. People call it a mental health condition. But on a deeper level, I personally believe it's linked to this dysregulated nervous system. Because if you're living in a chronic state of fight and flight because of inability to regulate yourself and because of external life stressors, on a very physical level, your nervous system is telling you there's danger around, there's predators around, you're not safe, you need to look for safety. So this is the default state of your body and your nervous system. So of course your mind now is going to be looking for danger because of your biological evolutionary hardwiring. Your nervous system is telling you there's a threat out there, so your mind is now constantly looking for danger. And this is where I personally believe anxiety comes from. You're looking externally, outwards, to find danger. You're worrying, you're overanalyzing, you're overthinking, you're very self-conscious. These traits of mental health actually stem from a very physiological response in your nervous system of being in this fight or flight. So it's very important we learn to be able to regulate ourselves and bring ourselves back into this parasympathetic state. And we can actually do this by using the breath. Breath work is a very powerful tool, because the breath is linked very closely to each pathway in the nervous system. The fight or flight response is characterized by short, shallow breathing. Rest and digest state is characterized by deep, slow, diaphragmatic breathing. So we can actually learn to shift ourselves back into the rest and digest through using conscious controlled breathing, which I'll talk about more in other videos, and I'll be putting together some guided practices for you guys. If you struggle with anxiety, if you have chronic anxiety, social anxiety, whatever it is, look at the state of your nervous system, as opposed to trying to fix these problems mentally by thinking about your problems, or by believing that that's just how you are, you know, and that you need a pill to fix it. Look at how you can actually begin to regulate yourself. Look at stresses in your life that are contributing to you being in this state of fight or flight, and look at how you can start bringing yourself back, using practices to bring yourself back to the body, like breath work, yoga, qigong. These practices are so powerful because they get your mind out of your head and into your body. It gives you awareness of your internal energy. It allows you to be able to regulate yourself and to use the breath as a sort of channel to clear out pent-up stress, anxiety, tension, suppressed emotions, all these kind of things. So looking at it this way can really empower us, because we can see that actually our state of anxiety and our mental health is actually in our hands. These things we can actually change. We can change our physiology through living a healthy, holistic lifestyle, through exercise, through sleep, through diet, through embodiment practices, through spiritual practices, breath work, yoga, meditation. are going to help us learn to drive the vehicle of our body. Our body is a vehicle. We just have to know how to drive it. We have to know how to service it and how to keep ourselves in a state of regulation. If you had a car and you were constantly revving the engine up to the red every gear, after a while your engine's going to be burnt out. It's the same with our body and our mind. So breathwork is a really powerful practice that we can start learning to regulate ourselves and to bring ourselves back into this parasympathetic state. So let's talk about depression. This might be a controversial one because I know people suffer with depression and it is a serious matter. But again, I'm here to argue that depression is not a mental health illness. It stems from a very physiological problem. A lot of people say that depression stems from a chemical imbalance, but my argument here is that the chemical imbalance isn't caused because you're just broken. It's caused by poor lifestyle. So for example, if you are constantly staying up until 3 in the morning, scrolling on TikTok, frying your dopamine receptors, not seeing daylight until 12 o'clock in the afternoon, eating processed foods and sugars, never moving your body, never exercising, and not connecting with community, not connecting with family, not connecting with people in general and getting those natural endorphins, then of course your brain chemistry is going to be out of balance. That's just obvious. But that doesn't mean it can't be fixed. Through exercise, through releasing natural endorphins, through dopamine reset, cutting out social media and porn and drugs, and actually pursuing some goals that produce dopamine naturally. Setting your circadian rhythm, so you're waking up at the same time every morning and going to sleep at the same time every night. This is regulating your body's natural rhythm, your internal body clocks, so that certain hormones are released in the morning and certain hormones are released at night to help you sleep. Your body is naturally trying to find homeostasis. Your natural state is one of balance and one of health and vitality, but it's our lifestyle that causes these things to be out of balance. And then of course our brain chemistry is going to be out of balance. So the other aspect of depression is the social and spiritual aspect of depression. This feeling that life is meaningless, there's no sense of direction or purpose, you don't want to live because you've got nothing really to live for. And that was me when I was addicted to drugs. I had nothing to get up for in the morning, and the only sense of relief that I had was this temporary fix to change how I felt. We have to look at these things holistically. Mental health shouldn't be looked at as, I just need to fix this with a pill, because that's not treating any of the causes. It's maybe temporarily dampening the symptoms, which might be helpful for some people, but I'd argue in the long run it's actually worse. But it doesn't treat any of the causes. The causes for me personally are poor lifestyle, lack of connection, no purpose in life, poor health, poor sleep. And your brain chemistry and physiology is the cause of how you think and feel. Taking our life and our mental health into our own hands, being empowered and looking at what actions can we take to improve our mental health. So ask yourself, how is my lifestyle contributing to the way I'm feeling? Do any of these statements apply to you? I stay up too late. I'm sleep deprived. I'm attached to my phone. I have addictions. I don't exercise. I make excuses. I'm a slave to my impulses and emotions. I have no direction or purpose in life. I don't take action when I know I should. I eat a poor diet. I waste my time. I'm not fulfilling my potential, and I'm constantly overstimulated. Well, if any of these are true for you, then of course your mood and energy is going to reflect your lifestyle choices. I'm just going to read a little section from the program I'm currently working on. Human beings are supposed to live with a sense of purpose. We feel depression when we wake up without direction and meaning in life. We feel our potential is not being fulfilled and our spiritual needs are unmet. We become detached from our true nature as human beings, living a shallow and unconscious life controlled by our impulses and emotions. We use vices and seek comfort to distract ourselves and avoid facing our problems, then wonder why we don't feel inspired and free. So there is power in taking action. There's a famous quote here by Bill Wilson, one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he says, "You can't think your way into right action, but you can act your way into right thinking." And this is such a powerful mindset shift to actually empower us to take control of how we feel. So you are in total control of how you feel. It's more empowering to believe that your feelings are a reflection of your choices and your actions, as opposed to believing that you are at the mercy of your feelings at any given time. Take responsibility for how you feel and what you do about it. And I've written a little list here of many positive actions you can take to start beginning to shift away from your old way of thinking and start moving towards more fulfillment, more joy, more contentment in life. So, quitting your addictions and vices, social connection and finding community, doing acts of service for others, spending quality time with family, finding your purpose, having a spiritual practice, expressing gratitude, setting and achieving goals, life planning and personal development, getting plenty of quality sleep, eating nutritious diet, exercising regularly, getting sunlight on your skin, spending time in nature, meditation and breathwork, listening to music and dancing, creativity and self-expression, playing sports, engaging in healthy competition, trying new hobbies, and building something. So there you go. There's loads of positive actions that you can start taking. It's actually going to change your brain chemistry from the ground up. You know, we're working with the body, we're working with the nervous system, we're learning to find safety and stillness, we're learning to regulate ourselves, we're learning to find connection. You know, there's safety and connection and community where the nervous system can relax and we can then start recovering and start repairing and start healing. Having a sense of purpose, finding things that you enjoy doing. You know, these are things that really cure depression. I was depressed because my life was shit, because I had nothing to get up for, because I hated myself, because my brain chemistry was all out of whack, because I couldn't regulate myself. And it's important to remember that this change doesn't happen overnight. You know, it might start with little wins, but over time those wins compound and begin to snowball into greater momentum, motivation, and confidence. So if you struggle with depression, low energy, anxiety, be kind to yourself, but know this: your life is in your hands and you can take responsibility for it. If this video resonated with you, be sure to leave a like and comment, subscribe to the channel for more videos on personal development, self-mastery, and spiritual growth. And be sure to look out for more videos on guided practices that can help you to regulate yourself and holistic lifestyle advice. So thanks for listening, I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.